Alrighty, good morning everybody, Luke's MTG here. This is kind of a follow-up deck tech slash gameplay video to the commentary I uploaded earlier today, December 30th, on the 5-0 Balenciaga and Boba Jeskai Stoneblade list, and I just wanted to kind of use this as a video to talk a little bit more in depth about my thoughts about the deck, choices that I made, changes that I made to this, to Balenciaga and Boba's list, mainly just for my own preference. That's kind of the big reason here. So this is a Jeskai Stoneblade list, as you can see. Pretty stock choices are going to be 4 of Swords of Plowshares. We've got the 4 of Prismatic Ending. What are some other things that we got here that are pretty stock? We've got Jason Mind Sculptor, Teferi Time Raveler, Narset, just kind of your quintessential blue-white planeswalkers in Legacy. As far as the equipment package that we have here for Stoneforge Mystic, we've got Umezawa's Jit. As I discussed in the previous video, that's going to be for Elves, Death and Taxes, even pretty decent against the blue-red deck right now, the blue-red Delver, blue-red Murktide, the different variations of that deck. Cauldron Complete, this is just a way to end the game really, really quickly. Pretty much outclasses any creature out there except for, Emrakul, Grizzlebrand, the Reanimator style decks, but it is good in that matchup as well because it allows us to kind of end the game before they can top deck something, if we manage to stop their initial wave of reanimation, big monsters, all that good stuff. Back to basics in the main, this is something that I've kind of played with in many of my blue-white decks in the past. I think it's really good right now. Really good against the Yorion pile because it plays so many non-basics. While it does have some basics, this is going to help shut some of those down. This is also going to be pretty nice against lands. I mentioned in my previous video that I'm a little concerned about removing that Force of Negation. And to be quite honest with you, the main reason I did that is to keep the cost of the deck down. I use mana traders to rent my cards as opposed to buying and selling them and losing out on money that way. But and my cap for my rental is 400 ticks values, and of course Force of Negation is up there quite a bit. So in order to keep this deck under my 400 ticks limit, that was a cut that I made. And I think one thing that a lot of people don't discuss when we're talking about Magic is that it is quite expensive. So sometimes you're going to run into budgetary constraints when you're trying to put your deck together. So that's truthfully one of the main reasons that we ditched the Force of Negation, but there are some other reasons for that. Anytime we use a Force, we're actually going negative on cards for the most part. So in a deck that wants to cast Narset, Teferi, Jace the Mind Sculptor, I think it makes sense to try to recoup as much card advantage as you can. And yeah, that's my reason for doing so. Spell Pierce is something that I've enjoyed in Legacy before in these blue mid-range style decks. Kind of help you out against the combo decks, allow you to jam one of your threats and protect it without relying on Force of Will. Oh, another quick comment. Pyroblast, Red Elemental Blast, they make a pretty good impression of Force of Negation in the blue mirrors and are also good against Murktide Regent. Trueman Nemesis, he can carry an equipment pretty well. For example, the Sword of Fire and Ice, the Umezawa's Jit, and blocks Ragavan, and yeah, mainly Ragavan, big construct tokens all day long. Snapcaster means to buy back your stuff, your bread and butter Brainstorm Ponder package, and of course, primarily basics because this is a back to basics deck as well as a Prismatic Vista deck to leverage your prismatic endings. And to successfully cast your Wear and Tear, Pyroblast, Red Blast, and Meltdowns without too much fear of being wastelanded off of your volcanic islands. And then as far as our sideboard goes for Graveyard, we've got Containment Priest. We have got Leyline of the Void as a 4 of. One thing I didn't mention when I was kind of discussing this deck earlier was that Leyline of the Void is really good against the Prismatic Ending decks, which are most decks these days. So it's pretty difficult to remove a Leyline of the Void with Prismatic Ending. However, obviously that's going to be vulnerable to Force of Vigor, but there's only so much we can do. So we're going to be jamming some Leyline of the Voids. Hydroblast is going to be nice against the red decks, such as the Ragavans, Sometimes you'll see a prison deck that is going to be vulnerable to those Hydro Blasts. Wear and Tear, just kind of a catch-all for artifacts, enchantments. Sword of Fire and Ice is going to be nice against the blue mirrors, the fair blue mirrors, that is. And obviously going to be good at picking off little creatures and give you some card advantage. And then one card here that I really like that I learned through a Bosch and Roll video. I think he's playing Blue Black Ninjas. It's going to be Sabo's Web. So it's an artifact for 2 generic, enters battlefield, cantrips. So it replaces itself so it doesn't hurt too bad. But what this does is sort of a back to basics impression. So every land with an activated ability that is not a mana ability is not going to untap during its controller's untap step. So this is going to help us against lands, help us against Urza's Saga. If your opponent wants to Rashad import you, they could basically do that once. And like I said, this basically plays a back to basics impression, but slightly different in that it cantrips, and it's something we can cast if, for example, I can't imagine a scenario where this would happen, but if we only have a plains and a mountain. So we're going to try and get into some video or to some gameplay right now, and we'll give it a shot. Okay, so we got the play here. We're going to go first, and we'll see what we got here. Okay, so I'm pretty much always, I'm a big fan of Bosch and Roll, and his brand is the Island Ponder Keep for Legacy, and I'm going to do the same. I'm going to pretend like this Batterskull is not here, so this is kind of similar to a Mull to 6. But we got some interaction, some cantrips, and we've got back to basics as well with 2 basics, so we're going to keep. We're going to lead off with Island and Ponder. So here, the main things I'm going to be looking for are threats. So Stoneforge Mystic, Brainstorm, Force of Will. I think I'm probably going to take it. I'll go for the for the Force of Will, and I want to draw the island next turn. I want to have the Force of Will just in case. So we'll draw that and pass. Brainstorm here can help us find a threat. So this Force of Will could prove pretty powerful against this Ancient Tomb. Painter's Servant, I think we're just going to go ahead and force that. We'll pitch the Spell Pierce, because this back to basics is going to be good here, and we need the Brainstorms to keep digging. Mainly I didn't want that Painter's Servant to resolve because I'm a little concerned about something like a... Alright, let's see here. I'm kind of concerned about something like a Pyroblast coming out. So I went ahead and forced that for that reason. So we can shuffle away our Batterskull, and we can just get our other island with this Prismatic Vista here. And I think I might want to go ahead and draw this other island. So... Actually, you know what? We're just going to go ahead and fetch now because I might want an island to cast this Brainstorm here. And we'll go ahead and pass off to our opponent. So we're a little vulnerable here because we don't have any interaction. However, we do have the back to basics that we can jam next turn. So hopefully they cast their Ancient Tomb on something like a Blood Moon. We definitely don't care about. So what we can do here is shut them off their Ancient Tomb. So between their Blood Moon and our back to basics, they're going to be on 1 land. Stoneforge Mystic is good here. I want to just go ahead and get the back to basics down. Perhaps we should Brainstorm first. I was a little hasty with there, but you know what? We're going to jam this back to basics. And then we're going to go for the Stoneforge Mystic because perhaps we can use the Stoneforge Mystic to shuffle away. There's the Grindstone, so we need to be watching out for Painter's Servant. So I'm looking for Prismatic Ending here. Swords of Plowshares, that can deal with Painter's Servant. I'm just going to go ahead and Brainstorm because I'm looking for that that all-important Prismatic Ending. It doesn't look like I'm going to get it here. I don't need an extra Snapcaster Mage. This could serve as a red source, so I'm going to go ahead and keep that. So we'll shuffle this stuff away here with our Stoneforge Mystic, and then we'll get the Cauldron complete because we want to get this game over with. So a little nervous because we don't have much, we don't have any interaction that we can cast right now. But let's play our red source. We've got the Swords to Plowshares in case the Painter Servant comes down. So hopefully we don't see that. Lightning Bolt. Yep, can't do anything about it. Let's see what we get here. Flooded Strand, which is going to be a mountain. Let's go ahead and Snapcaster Mage here. I'm going to ponder. I'm really interested in finding a Prismatic Vista. You know, and the Snapcaster beats are real. Teferi can buy us a little bit of time, but we're only going to be drawing lands after that. But that does get us up to the 7 lands, so perhaps a better player than me would choose to just shuffle away. But I like the idea of the Teferi here, so we're just going to go ahead and keep him. He can dig us a little bit closer, and also buy us some time with the Grindstone. Also, it kind of protects us against Pyroblast should our opponent find another Painter Servant. There's that Painter Servant. So notably, they don't have enough to Grindstone right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to Swords to Plowshares. Really, really wish that I had another Plains here so that I could play my Teferi and also hold up the Swords to Plowshares. But let's see, our opponent is only going to have 1 mana and it does cost 3. So maybe we should go for the Teferi so that we can secure the Swords to Plowshares next turn. I'll tell you what, I think I'm going to do that. Teferi is good. Let's see. What do we want to bounce? Probably the Painter Servant, just because it costs, I mean, if we bounce that Grindstone, it's going to cost us, it's only going to cost them 1 mana, and if we bounce the Painter Servant, it's going to cost them 2. So, you know, it does, Grindstone's not a creature, so we're not worried about trying to get the 3 mana through some kind of weird haste shenanigans, because that's, you know, regular artifacts don't have summoning sickness. I think I'm just going to go ahead and slam the Cauldron here. Oh, actually I can't because of the Flooded Strand. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we'll just go ahead and keep playing our lands out, and we'll attack with our Snapcaster Mage. Just keep getting in there for all the damage we can. And we're going to leave up this Plains for this Painter Servant that's going to come down. At least I assume that's what they're going to play. They were eager to play it earlier in the game, so I don't see why they would change now. Maybe they're just saving up enough lands to just activate it. Let's see. Do I want the Jace? What does Jace do for me right now? They have enough cards in hand, so Fate Sealing's not going to be effective. I'm going to lose another land here if I... Maybe I should Jace. Let's count up our lands here. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Effectively 7 lands. We could jam the Cauldron and... Let's see. I think that's going to be the route that we want to take. I'm hoping they don't have a Pyroblast here because I just gave up quite a few lands. Alright, so I can't envision a scenario where... Okay, so now we're back to 3-turn clock. But I can't really envision a scenario where our opponents are going to be able to come up with 5 mana when they've got this many lands in play. Okay. Okay. I think I might just go ahead and get rid of this Goblin Welder. I'm not sure what they would want to get. Most likely the Painter Servant, but I think it's just going to work out better for us if we keep, you know, all their options off the table. So they're going to need a total of 5 mana if they want to beat us with this Grindstone Painter Servant combo. 2 to cast the Painter Servant, which we... I think we know it's in their hand because of the Teferi. Maybe not. So what can they do here? They can't get rid of the Germ token or the Cauldron Plate because they both have Indestructible. Yep, there we go. So here I'm immediately going to want to go for my Meltdowns and my Wear and Tear because obviously this is an artifact-based deck. Some other considerations here are going to be the blasts. Now, Pyroblast is going to be good because they typically will play their own Pyroblast, so I'm going to go for that. And Hydroblast is going to be good against their red cards, such as Goblin Welder. But we really haven't seen too many of those. So, let's see here. Back to Basics proved to be pretty decent there against them. So I'm probably going to want to keep a hold of those. But what are the things we do want to get rid of? Probably the Spell Pierce, because I think the Red Blast is just better. We can trim a little bit on Jace there. What else? We may trim on the Batterskull and therefore a Stoneforge Mystic as well. Prismatic Ending kind of does all the jobs of these cards here, sometimes with a higher mana cost. So let's see, maybe Sword of Fire and Ice is decent, but they're more interested in a combo, and we're just trying to maximize stack interaction and permanent interaction here. I'm thinking Narset's not too strong. It can dig us towards an answer, but you know, that's what our cantrips are for. I'm trying to think of some other things here that we probably want to get rid of. Perhaps leave the True Name Nemesis out because it's a little bit slow. Yeah, I think my stack interaction is the most important thing here, as well as my artifact interaction. So let's get in there. Okay, we got Brainstorm, we got some basics, we got access to our you know, all 3 colors, and we got Prismatic Ending to do some interacting as well. So I'm just going to keep this. Goblin Welder. Now, well, I was going to say there's a decision we want to make. Do we want to leave it here? But I think that I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of this right away because we have access to another Prismatic Ending. And then I'll probably Brainstorm and potentially Prismatic Ending again if they play something like a Grindstone. But I have a tendency to want to just keep, okay, Goblin Engineer. I'm not too familiar with this one. Okay, so let's see what they get here. The Grindstone. So if they have a Painter Servant, then we can Pyroblast. I think I'll just play my island here. And do we want to... I guess we could Brainstorm, but I'm not really sure what I'm looking for at this point. Can't Pyroblast right now, but I can in the future. Let's see. I think I'm just going to wait a little bit here. Maybe it was correct to fire off the the prismatic ending there, but I would rather they sacrifice a land. Okay, there's the painter servant that we were talking about. So next turn what we can do is we can pyroblast the painter servant and prismatic ending the goblin engineer. I think that's what I'm going to go for. Now, normally I wouldn't recommend brainstorming on your end step, but I do want to do something with my mana. And I plan on using all of my mana next turn, so I do want to get some value out of this. Man, we just have kind of an abundance of cards that we do want. I'll keep the Forcible in hand, and perhaps a 5th land is not what we want to go for. So I plan on drawing the Ponder. Okay, so let's go ahead and get... let me think here. Let's go ahead and get a mountain. We'll get our mountain here. I'm just going to pyroblast this right away. And then we can prismatic ending away this guy. And then we've got a force of will to back up our play that we just made there. Back to basics would be really nice right now. Okay. I'm going to get a tundra here. Or perhaps I want to get an island. I don't really need double white. Although that could be nice, but I'm kind of planning on doing Ponder Teferi here. Hopefully to get another blue card. So I'm just going to get another basic island in case I want to cast a future Jace underneath Blood Moon or Back to Basics. So let's see. We're going to start with our Teferi, so they can't... Actually, perhaps we should start with the Ponder. Let's go ahead and start with the Ponder. Try to improve our hand a little bit here. Okay, so I want to draw the Ponder in case I need a Forcible if they Pyroblast the Teferi. And let's see. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to bottom, or not bottom, this isn't a preordain. I don't want to shuffle, but what I do want to do is cast this Teferi. And I have a Swords to Plowshares for something like a Painter Servant or another Goblin. And I kind of want to just dig through my deck. Oh, you know what I should have done? Oh man, I just made a mistake there. So this is an artifact, so I could have returned their Great Furnace to their hand with a Teferi and take them off a land drop. So that's a mistake on my part. Hey, you live and you learn, you know? And I'm going to go ahead and ponder. Okay, so that back to basics that we mentioned is going to come in handy here. But I think I want to make my land drop first. And I want to be able to swords this turn. Though perhaps I want I want to access the Forcible. Oh, you know what? Everything's blue, so that's fine. So we're going to do this so that I can make my land drop. And then we're just going to swords this right away. Do it on our turn so they can't interact with it. I mean, we have it Teferi, so they can't really interact with the swords on the stack anyway, but I guess that did take me off of my Force of Will, but... And next time we get our Teferi up to 3, we'll remember that we can actually bounce the Great Furnace. So there's that match for you. I think I'm just going to do these little videos in 1 match increments to make it a little bit easier to manage and to kind of cut down on the editing I have to do. But I'll tell you what, I do appreciate you coming by to watch, and you know, hopefully we learned a little something about the Mono Red Painter versus Jeskai Stoneblade match. So thanks a lot for watching. Come back soon.